students to apply, to explore, to innovate, and we want to be able to build that into there. So I will hopefully be back, but I'm going around and I'm letting everybody know we are doing this because there's a lot going on right now. And this is really important. And I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update and then let you know also my contact information, which is up here. And that I'm always willing to talk to students and get some feedback. So if you go to the next slide, it has my contact information. Oh, well, we can keep going. Thank you. And that, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you have something strongly that you feel about or you have your constituents, please email me or set up meetings, or I will set up focus groups. Anything you guys feel is appropriate, or if you want to look at drafts earlier and then I can come to the meeting and get feedback so you have some time to pre-look at them. Whatever you guys think works best for you guys, but I do want to make sure that you know that we want you to be involved in this process and we do want your feedback and feel it is really important. So, all right, you have any questions, or I know you have a busy schedule.
Oh, it's quite all right. Are there any questions on the floor? Senator Busen?
Hi, I had a question about course substitutions for general eds. So one time last semester I was taking an honors course and I wanted to see if I could substitute it for a general ed requirement, and I had no idea where to go, and I kind of went around in a circle from my department head to the department head of who was in charge of the gen ed to registration to the bursar's office, and I just went an entire circle. And so I was wondering, are you guys going to make it, is it possible to, in the future, to switch out or have substitutes for general eds for possibly honors courses?
Absolutely. This is something that we had last year, 11,000 non-transfer course substitutions at this institution, which is incredibly high. It clearly shows that we have a curriculum problem and that we have a process problem. It's one of the pieces of data that we have been collecting, and more than you would think of those for gen ed. When you assume that gen ed, according to the USG, this should all be substitution based. Part of this is there wasn't a clear, there was an interim in my position for almost 3 years previous, so there hasn't been a lot of leadership. There's been some transition, but that's one of the things that we're definitely working about. One of the things that's happened is that programs have kind of pushed prerequisites down into gen ed, and that's causing a lot of problems with substitutions. And one of the things we want to do when we revise is make sure that we kind of break those prerequisites out of gen ed. They really don't belong there. Gen ed really should be independent, and courses in gen ed, with the exceptions of science and math, which the USG has specific rules about, really should be just that for a general audience that give you a broad sense of something and introduce you to a new way of thinking. You shouldn't necessarily have to say, I have to take anthropology if I want to take an upper level anthropology course. That gen ed course should introduce you to that. But we unfortunately have a lot of prerequisites that have gotten mixed into that, and that's causing a lot of problems, and it's also causing a lot of issues with the transferability because it's got all of these threads that are connecting to it that make department chairs really hesitant to do that. So one of the reasons that we want to revise is that we have hundreds of these prerequisites that have made their way into gen ed, and we want to really kind of have a decisive break from that when we revise and kind of start with a clean slate. So thank you, yeah. It's definitely an issue I'm aware of. Unfortunately, I don't know who to direct you to at this point other than the registrar's office.
Oh, no, it was last semester, so it's okay. Past just the past.
Still, I don't like hearing that students have to jump through all of these hoops to try to figure out who can even help them. So that's unfortunate.
So quick question. So like for Coles College of Business, we have to take Econ 2200 and 2300, but we still have to take Econ 1000 even though we've taken the upper division classes. How do I get Econ 1000 over it?
Econ 1000 is an interesting example that is unique to Kennesaw State University that was created out of consolidation. It is a little problematic for the USG system in that it does not have any credit to transfer in. There are no equivalencies. You cannot take eCore, and they will not take substitutions. At this time, we do not have a way around that. It is, however, one of first priority to revise Area B to allow more flexibility so that students can move through gen ed more quickly. And also, we have created bottlenecks for ourselves by forcing students through singular classes. And when I went to the Board of Regents In the fall, they heavily suggested that that be one of my first areas of priority because of the issues of forcing students through a single area is causing a lot of bottlenecks. Southern did something similar in their Area B, and they had to revise because it was creating so many problems. So we definitely do have a very econ-heavy gen ed, and that's something that, again, we were focused on skills in gen ed. And just kind of thinking that students should be exposed to a lot of things, but the important thing is that you're practicing skills throughout gen ed. You're practicing teamwork and oral communication and understanding global perspectives, and a little bit less on content, because that's what your programs are here for you to do, is to give you that specific content. So that is one of the discussions that we are having about the role of econ in general education. And it is an issue that the USG is aware of and we are aware of, and it is a high priority to be changed.
Are there any other questions on the floor? Anything from the audience? All right, seeing none, we really want to thank you for coming out. And if in addition, I'll email you later, but in addition to the student commitment you discussed, I'd really like to sit down and talk about maybe a more continual long-term presence for SGA, but thank you so much for coming out and talking.
Thank you so much. One last pitch I will give you is our next Gen Ed Council meeting is on the Marietta campus. It is the first time Gen Ed Council will be meeting on the Marietta campus, and it is November 28th at 3:30 in Atrium J, and those meetings are open to everyone. We are going to be doing kind of work group stuff, and it is right after the holiday break, so recognize that you guys might be busy, but sometimes when people make arguments about things like Econ 1000, it's very helpful to have a student there to give some context. So you guys are always welcome to come and hang out with us and the faculty. Oh, yes, sir.
Senator Coakley.
Senator Coakley, just a quick question. Could you repeat the room number for that?
I have to double, is Atrium J or Building J? Is there a room that I should be saying with that? Okay. It is on the Gen Ed website, so you can go to the curriculum.kennesaw.edu, and it has a list of our meetings as well. I'm sorry if I don't want to tell you wrong, and I'm not sure I trust my gut on what the number is.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Before we go into the intern programs, we want to double check just to make sure no one's left out. Are there any representatives for Dr. Casey White or from Student Affairs that had planned to give a presentation tonight? Excellent. Well, that was on our end. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Our Director of Communications is sick. So we're going to go through it. We have 4 intern programs, intern presentations today. For those of you who weren't here last year, we do have an intern program, and they are all going to present some ideas they've been working on, talk about some steps they've taken, some steps they want to continue to take, be respectful, ask questions. I can't wait to hear from them. We're going to start with the KSU U team whenever y'all are ready.
As an aside, too, our internship group brought donuts. So at this time, while we set up and get ready for our presentation, you can get up, help yourself. There's 3 dozen chocolate and 3 dozen glaze. So you can do that now at this time or whenever it's most convenient. Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure y'all are using it.
Can we get? Administration. I don't know if we're able to do that. Do you have to Right. Yes.
We don't have.
Is there a way we can like steal some mics and coming back for Q&A at the end?
Sure.
Okay. Yes. Let's do that. Thank you. We'll give it back. Thank you. Or like once you get to the last line, then you can look it up.
We'd ask you all return to your seats. Thank you to the interns for this blatantly delicious violation of our procedures. But we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Whenever y'all are ready.
Well, thank you all. I hope you enjoy your donuts, and thank you so much for being here tonight just to listen to all the interns. All the interns, we've done so much work, and I'm really happy. And I drove here in the rain, and I couldn't see, but I'm really happy to be here. Well, thank you all. My name is Daniel Coley.
I'm Graceland Lee.
Hi, I'm Sam Lefeb, and we are KU.
S.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So what is our problem statement here for our internship as KSU? One of the things that we kept coming back to was that constituents across every university would find themselves having common problems. And some of those problems varied greatly depending on the department itself. However, those problems nonetheless still prevail. And there are, in fact, solutions provided through SGA, through administration and faculty, frankly, through each of these colleges. However, there's a certain lack of communication or effective communication that reaches the greatest number of students. So that is a problem because students themselves don't know of those solutions that everyone works so hard to be able to get out. Next slide, please.
Awesome. It's here. Awesome. Well, and during our internship, we started out doing parking and transportation because I felt very strongly about the lack of parking spots for commuter students. But then something we were speaking to, and it was at a previous SGA meeting where we talked to one of the directors of campus, our resident life and just campus services, and she told me that in order for me to get a parking spot that's closer on campus, I had to, register earlier. And I didn't know that. And then we started thinking, I wish there were a way that I could have a clear communication with the administration for me to know that. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to find out what was important to the students and what did they feel as though the circulation of information was here on campus. And we wanted to really understand what the students wanted to hear and how they wanted to hear it. So we devised a survey. We planned on going up to the Greens and asking a large amount of people, but as we all know, it's been raining since Monday, so the Greens definitely wasn't going to work. I couldn't get anyone to stop and take a survey. So we sent out a survey just asking some basic questions. If you can hit the next slide. So amongst these questions we have, is the information you receive helpful? Sorry if it's a little hard to read. How do you receive information about things on campus? How many credit hours have you completed, including current enrolled? How familiar are you with KSU student government? Because that's also really important. And do you believe that there is a problem with communication between KSU students? And for those of you who can't read it, or the audience, when asked, is the information you receive helpful? 71% of them said sometimes. So sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not, and we really want to aim for an always. With how do you receive it, 95% of students, of course, said email. But a lot of times, and something that's not up here, we also asked in our survey, what would you change about KSU? And a lot of times they say that emails are sometimes not reliable because there's so many different emails that don't pertain to them. So sometimes you just don't pay attention to the emails because there's so many. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about because I woke up to 13 of them. So, and then we moved on to just to see what year the students were so we can have a clear understanding of who we were talking to. 53% of them are sophomore, 29% were freshmen, and the rest were juniors and seniors because juniors and seniors mostly have their things together for the most part. And we asked them about SGA knowledge because SGA does have a lot of resources. We do have a lot of know-how about how to solve situations and have solutions about things. And it was honestly pretty split. I was actually kind of surprised to see how many people didn't know about SGA and how many people did know about SGA. Then you have, do you believe that there's a problem with communication between KSU and students? And that was a 74% yes. So this is obviously from the amount of students we asked, there is a problem with communication. Our group really wants to bridge that gap.
So we have gathered that the problem has been addressed by the administration, but what to the extent is still unsure. So that being said, we've talked to the administration, but we wanted to really think about the student and their questions and what are they missing with the lack of communication. And that survey suggested what it meant.
All right. So we did get together and we talked about some different solutions from us as students, and as well as that question we asked on the survey about asking other students what they would like to see. Obviously, you have the don't send so many emails one, but an idea that we thought about during our internship was creating a board for the residence halls for students to post questions they have, kind of like a frequently asked question board, because I know many of us have problems with our iPhones or our cars, and we Google them and we find it on a frequently asked questions board about how our solutions. We kind of want to implement that into maybe the residence halls and having a physical board up just for people to come by and they have a question, they can look at the board or they can submit their own question through using a QR code, because those things are awesome. And just basically getting that information from this board.
Right. And another area that our group looked to specifically for further and future exploration of this communication disparity is that for the second bullet point there, we have make fun and frankly informational brochures that do address that disparity of communication to help be able to get solutions out to the constituents and essentially students all together, depending on those common problems. So there would be a series of awareness, it's awareness campaign, and there are brochures tailored to each specific question with clickbait, if you will, titles where students would want to reach out and want to grab this information because they want to know how to fix those problems that everyone has on campus. And another huge thing that our group in particular for Future Action want to strive upon is actually reaching out to parents of first-year students. If you can tie in your legal guardians, parents, and other people that we all hold dear, especially for first-year students coming to Kennesaw, then you innately also grab the attention of the students themselves. You tie in the community, then you're able to tie in each person specifically. Plus, by then, with the advertising being through SGA as well, it gives a positive image on SGA and it ensures a future for SGA as well, ensuring that the best leaders do come up to further serve students and constituents.
Awesome. And then JJ?
Hey guys, I'm JJ. So our job as a Senate, pretty much if you want to get involved with the group, is pretty much, because we all have different constituencies, different colleges, different, people that we are representing. So if you want to get involved, obviously, because we have different people representing, there are going to be different questions and different, issues. So get out there, ask questions, and report back to the group, and we'd be more than happy to work with you.
Thanks. Yeah, JJ's been working with us this entire time. She's a mastermind, I promise. But yeah, so definitely just building off what she said, we really want to hear from you guys as the senators of the colleges. And we want to hear from you guys because I understand that sometimes people might not even know their own senators, might not know you guys, and might not know your names and your faces. And we just want to be able to let them know who you are, and so they can come to you with their problems. They can voice their complaints or their issues, or they want to talk to you because they just want to get to know you. So that's pretty much what our group's trying to accomplish.
Thank you for your time. We'll open the floor to questions now.
If Daniel, you could just give their mic back to this side, and Graceland, you can hold on to that, and y'all can pass it around as need be. All right, who's first? We'll start with Director Delaney, and then we'll go to Director Keller.
Thank you. Sorry. So good job, guys, on a great presentation. We can obviously tell that you guys worked very hard over this past semester, so for that, I commend you. I have a couple questions, but I'm going to focus mainly on these pamphlets/brochures. So for me, what info is going to be on these brochures? Where are they going to be? How are people going to get them? Where are you going to get the funding for these? Also, how do you know that these pamphlets won't just get thrown away? Because I know during the summer, with I'm orientation, I'm passing out all these pamphlets, and the biggest concern is they're just going to get thrown away or put to the side. So how do you plan to address that, okay, here's a pamphlet, but you may throw it away in a second. So I guess just kind of explain the whole pamphlet situation.
Absolutely. So our internship group, we definitely do want to, we're opportunists, so we like to focus on that one person. So if we're able to positively give that information out, even if it is just to one person, then it's a success, because then that one person can further pass the information along. But in regards to the whole campaign in itself for the brochures, why students themselves wouldn't want to throw away the brochures or why they should go out and take it in the first place is that we're actually hoping to make it and tie in marketing aspects to it. So in a way, it's very engaging, and it's not something where students would traditionally see from a university, because this is something that directly reaches out to them. This is something that addresses a need that they have in particular. So at the end of the day, so long as they're able to see the information, and we are able to reach out and actually help the students, then it can be thrown away, the brochure itself, or passed along at that point of time. In terms of funding, because that's a huge consideration as well, that's something that as a group, we're going to have to work efficiently and as budget conscious as we can. Because this is, again, a project that we were exploring, but without any proper sponsorship or financial backing. So it would be a personal investment in this. But it makes it all the more worthwhile to us because we want to see it succeed. And then down the road, we can actually explore the options of getting sponsorships and everything to help further support that initiative, depending on if we want to go wide scale with it. And you mentioned specifically how are we going to hand these out and everything. We want to go most effective based on time frame itself. So with our time that we do have allotted to us, we believe we have the greatest impact in certain areas. So whether it's like on the greens, for instance, as Daniel brought up previously, whether it's in front of the commons, just areas where there's going to be a large number of students. And this is not something where students have to stop. It's not a survey in itself. It's something we can just simply pass out. And again, the title itself is something that we're focusing on. We want to focus on the whole premise and the whole problem, and that's how we'll advertise it. We'll say, hey, do you have the Wi-Fi problem, for instance? Are you experiencing Wi-Fi problems on campus? Well, here is a brochure that could possibly address this. And if you have any further questions, please direct it to us, and we'll have contact information. We'll reference SGA, so they'll come in for the meetings as well if they do have further questions. Yeah, I hope that answers your questions.
And that being said, we can also, according with the pamphlets itself, we can also use, like he stated, that he stated above, like using emails and using also electronic pamphlets as well, instead of like using funding to throw things away, because when I get pamphlets, sometimes I end up, throwing it away. So I understand where you're coming from. So thank you for that question.
So to kind of piggyback off of that, if you do use email, how is that bridging the gap? Because if you're saying that there's a lack of communication and students aren't checking their email, and then you want to send them another internet email, how do you bridge that gap of them checking their email so they can see this?
Okay, awesome. I'm really glad that you asked that. So as before, it's about 94% of the students that we surveyed actually got their information from emails, and some of them did say that it was sometimes useful. The sometimes comes in, I asked them, why would you say sometimes? They say sometimes because all the information that they get, not all of it pertains to them. And we really want the survey to be able to ask students how they want to get their information. Some of them say, email us the opportunities, email us you can do this with your classes, text us when there's warnings about someone maybe having a weapon on campus, or there's like a flash flood. I know we also got that text. Send prioritize the messages that you send out to students, and don't bog them down with as many with spam emails. Some of it might not be spam, but some of it might not pertain to the students that they send it to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll hear from Director Keller, and then we're going to take 2 more questions in the interest of time.
Hi, so Director Keller. I want to work with you guys. So
Awesome.
I know Sam is already on my committee, and I'm going to pull you in, and so is JJ. Because this is what you're focusing on is what our committee is passionate about. So come see me, because what I'm hearing is that you need a support of a committee. Yeah. And I feel that my committee is awesome, which you will hear in my presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Director Keller.
So I want to talk to you.
Awesome, thank you. We want to talk to you as well.
Question.
Any questions on the floor? Senator Ray, and then we'll go to Senator Ellington.
Okay, so going off of this, I don't think necessarily the problem is communication, because there are Kennesaw does give us many ways of communication, like we said, emails, but sometimes it doesn't pertain to you. The Sentinel has a lot of information, but how many people, hey, thank you for the Sentinel, there it is in the trash can. Just things like that. But I think the best way is not a better form of communication necessarily, but a more appealing form of communication. I think a department that does this really well, if you look at their Twitter, is the Kennesaw State Department of Emergency Management. I'll laugh at their tweets sometimes, and it's an emergency management department, so that might be like a good resource to look into. I don't think pamphlets are going to work, just because I don't think I've ever read a pamphlet in my 20 years on this earth. So maybe looking into something like that.
I completely agree with you. And here's the interesting thing with the pamphlet, too, that we were discussing, because pamphlets, ew, right? They're boring. Brochures, pamphlets, everything like that, they have a bad stigma that they're more informational. However, with our approach, we definitely want to market it to be where it's more so in the student's interest. It's very short burst, and it's not anything like the Sentinel, for instance, which is heavy with information, and it's very appealing, but only to a certain number of students. So we want this pamphlet to be as universal and collectively appealing as possible. So through colors themselves, to like how it's worded, marketing, everything like that, and even how we go about distributing it, will be in the student's best interest and everything like that. But we want to break away from the negative stigmas around brochures as well for this and make it less of a brochure and pamphlet. That's just something we use for a lack of a better term, because that's something more accepting from an informational standpoint. But this will be more advertised as being just like an informational sheet, or just more like a way to solve your problems. Yeah.
That won't be the only communication that we'll use. We'll also use, like you stated, social media. We'll also use text messages, but pamphlets is one of our main things we want to work on.
And I just want to agree. I love it whenever I get informational things, but it's really funny, because I will most definitely remember it, and I'll be able to tell my friends, I'm like, hey, this is a really funny joke. But in telling that joke, I just told them really important information. So we definitely want to use that as well. And I definitely wish you would have took that survey, because I would have definitely loved to see that in our to what you would like to hear your information by. Thank you.
Senator Ellington?
Hey guys, quick suggestion. You guys only had 38 responses on the survey, and I mean, there's 35,000 of us students here, so that's like 0.001% of the campus. So I would suggest probably going further and keeping this survey open and trying to get as many responses as you can within X amount of time you start working with the committee, because you guys have, you know, a small raw data collection, and there's a ton of people that would make those graphs turn in and out different ways. And also maybe adding to your survey maybe like a possible solution that students may have, because there wasn't like any feedback from the students besides yes, no, and what was given to them. So maybe just leaving like a, what do you think would help us? Yeah. So you would kind of see what the students also have to say besides just answering your questions. So yeah, suggestions.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm gonna go 2 and 1. We actually did have a short answer portion on the survey. There was just so many answers and so long that we couldn't fit them onto the PowerPoint and take the sake of time. We did ask them, and we got a lot of great responses, a lot of things that we haven't even thought of, and we definitely took that into consideration, because we wanted a feedback for them at first. At first, our survey was all short answer, and then we thought about how can we get people to actually sit down and do a short answer survey. And we definitely did want a lot of people. The survey's actually been open for about 4.5 days now. The original plan was for us to go into the greens and actually talk with people and speak with people and get them to take the survey. But it has been raining since Monday, so the timing kind of got ruined by the weather. I did go around the commons today and ask around a lot of people. I did disturb some people so while they were eating, trying to get as many people to do surveys as possible. So yeah, we really tried to have it open as long as possible.
And another thing, take note how hard it was to get people to take your survey. Yeah. It will probably be the same thing when you're trying to hand out pamphlets and also get other people involved, because participation is up to the individual, not up to you guys. So, yeah, you know, keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Well, in the interest of time, we're going to move on. I guess one suggestion from me is, since Director Keller has been kind enough to try and bring y'all in, maybe use that as an opportunity to look through the frequently asked questions and come up with a way to get that to us so we can use that information, whatever's convenient on your own time frame. Of course. Other than that, we encourage all the interns, once they presented, to stay for the whole meeting, so that any senators or interns that want to link up with each other afterwards, maybe you didn't get the chance to ask a question, can do so. But we want to thank you for the work you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next project is the Stingers versus the Commons from our team of Marietta interns and Senator Veeder.
Hi everyone, my name is Amin Patel.
I'm Bailey Veeder. So we did ours, it says Stingers versus Commons. That's our fancy title for it. So can we go to the next slide?
So our problem statement was the food quality between Stingers and Commons and also the inconsistency between them. And also not just the food quality, but the work in or the staff department between Stingers and Commons versus how they are placed in them.
How does this concern the students? Well, KSU has their image to uphold. They have a nationally ranked cafeteria on the other campus, and then there's Stingers. That's how many students here view that. The experience going to both differs greatly for anyone that goes, students, staff, faculty, and students get what they should get what they're paying for. That often doesn't help or happen on this campus with Stingers. People will swipe, go in, look around, learn there's nothing there, and then leave. Next slide.
Okay, why does this problem exist? So one of the really main causes was the lack of proper supervision. I feel like supervision is really important, so is the communication between workers and employees. Employees and supervisors / management. The reason why I say this is I used to work for KSU Dining Services for a year. And one thing that I really noticed was we had really lack of communication between employees and supervisors, which resulted into not proper food quality, proper management, and stuff like that. Another reason is staffing issues. We had a lot of temporary workers versus workers that are working permanently. So it's better off if the workers that are working temporarily, they're off the line and not really making the food, which helps a lot in maintaining the quality of the food. Students' perspective.
Students' perspectives. Staff and management differs between campuses, kind of, how it's managed because the campuses are different and the size. We found, after speaking to Shane Collins, the Associate Director of Dining, that there is some differences between the two, and it can be shown just going there and seeing how it's operated. The absence of selection and quality of food at Stingers, it's smaller, so it has less. Food provided on weekend greatly differs in quality, especially at Stingers compared to Commons. I've been to both on weekends, and Stingers can feel like a McDonald's. KSU needs to keep their excellent quality up. Because Stingers is not nationally recognized, our other cafeteria is. We want to get them to an equivalent level of sorts. And this is all done, we gathered all these perspectives. These are just the main points that students gave, but we, over several weeks, asked students during all times of day, all days of the week, in the cafeterias on both campuses, their perspectives.
All right, propose solutions to the inconsistency that we have between Stingers and Commons. So first thing is adjust the placement of temp agency workers. Like I mentioned earlier, it definitely does matter a lot if the workers are temporary versus the workers are permanent. Second solution, raise the food quality on weekends. I've noticed that a lot of times when I went to Stingers, especially on the weekends, the pizza quality was really rough. They would just literally run through the rush hour. They just want to get their work done, clock out, and get home. And third point, serve vegetarian and vegan options on weekends at Stingers. Since we all know that Commons is pretty diverse and Stingers is not diverse, so this is something really important. Make menus more accessible before students swap in. So this is really important, I think, because One student swap in their dining dollars / K-cash, they have literally paid their money before even looking after like what are they serving today. So I feel like if they posted the menus on the door itself, they'll be really helpful for not only students but also with the dining services as well. And like I said, I used to work for dining services, so improving the communication between management and employees.
So with all this, with these proposed solutions, we took them to Shane Collins as well as chief chef, general manager, and the other general manager for what?
Administration.
Administration, yeah. We brought them to all the administration for dining services, and we worked with them. They took our things in consideration, and they proposed solutions and amendments to our solutions right there. And a few of these, such as the vegetarian vegan options, they said they're going to take this immediately into effect because they didn't realize how big of the problem this was. And they didn't realize that the temp agency workers was affecting the food quality how it is, so they're taking that into replanning their management right now, and we're supposed to see some pretty good improvements in the next few months. Questions?
Questions?
Thank you very much. If you could just hand your mic back to this side so that we have questions. We'll start with people who didn't get to ask questions last time. Are there any questions on the floor? Senate Lead Dykes.
Hi, guys. So your idea about getting the menus posted outside the doors, I love that so much. I was just wondering if you had any feedback from your meetings regarding that, about if that is a possible thing that might happen.
So we discussed it at the meetings, and then I happened to run into him at the dining hall 2 days ago, and we discussed it again, me and Shane Collins, and he said he didn't give a firm answer on that one, because they have it posted inside, but that doesn't make sense to me, and I'm still trying to explain it to him that students are trying to figure out what's on. He sees that the menu is posted, and I'm trying to explain to him that people want to know what the menu is before going in. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions from anyone else? Okay.
I really want to appreciate you guys because I know that a lot of the other members of your group didn't show up, and facing those difficulties, even though you knew that others also had their part in it and they had to present, and you were unprepared for their part, you took it really well, and that's a mark of a leader. I really appreciate you on that, and I hope that this lack of participation from the other students will not put down your spirit for going forward. So I really want you to give them a big hand for that because even though it was really bad, they took it very well.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for him?
Can I make one more note? So we are staying in very close contact with Shane Collins as well as the rest of the administration. Like, I've been speaking to them every few days, and we're still throwing back and forth ideas. So any more input from any senators would be helpful as well. So, and just I'm a senator, so you guys can contact me.
All right. If there's nothing else, I guess my suggestion would be make sure to follow up even on the stuff they say is going into effect.
Yeah, of course.
Just politely, of course, but it's important to hold people accountable and make sure that they're, what the process is and what the timeline is for stuff that they say they're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And unless there's any other questions or comments, I believe that will conclude this presentation. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
We now have a group for communication within KSU. Whenever y'all are ready.
Hi, my name is Andrew Whitmere.
I'm Caroline.
There is a, Nicholas, there's a mic right there. If you could take it, that might make it a little easier for y'all.
Thank you.
Make sure to speak into the mics for the purpose of the recording.
And we are the aptly named communicators. Sorry for the technical difficulties. We had some issues. Move on to the next slide, please. So let me offer a hypothetical. Say you are a dissatisfied commuter student. Say you are a person who wakes up, goes to class, goes back to your dorm, and then complains about being bored. Say you are lonely and you have trouble making and finding friends. We're working to tackle your issues. We want to make Kennesaw State a home away from home by getting students more involved in extracurricular activities.
Okay, so every student deserves a chance to succeed, but at Kennesaw, they are not getting that opportunity. Now, our problem statement is that students miss out on opportunities on campus. And specifically, we're talking about with RSOs. Now, with RSOs, that's where students typically learn how to learn many tricks of the trade. They learn how to network, and many of the friends that they meet in those RSOs are the ones that they will be working with in the particular field that they want to be in, or they have shared interests. Now, students are actually missing out on joining these opportunities because they don't know about them. And I actually have some experience with that because I am an accounting major, and when I switched my major in my sophomore year, and I actually found out my junior year after I joined a club, Beta Alpha Psi. It's an accounting fraternity, that accounting firms actually start looking for different students in their sophomore year. And this was something that I didn't know my sophomore year, and I ended up missing out on the opportunity during that entire time. And to actually further show this, we actually took some surveys. And our first of which, will you go to the next slide?
Well, just building off on that, students don't like joining a registered student organization is an excellent opportunity for students on campus. Just as like an example, for STEM degrees, a lot of people go into STEM degrees because they think that it is like the best course of action. And what the effect of that is that the job market over time becomes more and more saturated, and the job market tightens up and it becomes more and more competitive for people to find jobs. And so with RSOs, they don't effectively convey the benefits of joining them, say for Model UN or mock trial. Oh, sorry. This is for mock trial. You can put those on your resume and they stand out to potential employers. And so, and being able to, for RSOs to be able to effectively convey that, saying, hey, this is a good idea to join our organization, plus you can meet new people, is beneficial in the long run. And it encourages enrollment at Kennesaw State.
Okay, so how we were going to achieve this problem is we researched it, and through that, the most efficient way that we found was through surveys. So we did 2 surveys, 2 online. One was for the students, and the other one was through RSOs through email. And then on top of that, we also did face-to-face surveys around the green. Okay, so on the online survey, we put it mainly on our social media because that's where we kind of got the most respondents. As you can see, almost all of them were freshmen, half of them, over majority, and then we didn't get any seniors, mainly because we put them on our social medias, so we don't really know that many seniors. Therefore, it was kind of skewed, but freshmen are the ones that are mainly on this campus, so those are kind of who we're trying to reach. And then the people who said that they had participated, so one of the questions was if they have. 36% said that they have. And then through that, the people who didn't participate in any and said that they weren't involved, we wanted to see why that problem was. 30% was through jobs, 16% was through outside activity conflicting, whether it was they were already in something or an outside source. And then 18% said that they didn't know or they really didn't want to get involved with that. And then for the face-to-face surveys, that was kind of around the green. We were able to get 67 people. Again, majority of them were freshmen, and then the minority, again, being seniors.
For that, we had more people say that they had participated with a 46%. And then again, we wanted to see the people who hadn't, why they hadn't. Again, job was number 1. And then a lot of people said in the middle, kind of outside activity conflicting, and then 11% said that they weren't aware.
So for our RSO surveys, we wanted to go to executive boards, and we wanted to see if they experience any problems with participation when they host events. Do they try all this work, they plan, and then all of a sudden just no one shows up? So we wanted to get like their feedback and their perspective, because they're the ones planning. So one of the problems that we encountered was we actually did not get that many responses for the survey. I spoke with Jordan Clark, who's the director of student organizations, and so she allowed me to send an email to all the RSO executive boards to fill out a survey to get participation and feedback. And still, even then, the responses over the emails was very small. And then I personally, after I saw that, I personally sent emails to many of the presidents of the RSOs asking for their feedback, and it's just a quick 4-minute survey or 4-question survey. It takes about 2 minutes to do, just to see. And still, there wasn't very much responses. So perhaps learning from that experience, maybe there was probably a better way or maybe a more efficient way of doing that. But with the Jordan Clark's email, everyone's supposed to read that from her, but it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't seem like that is the case. So, next slide. So from the people who replied, they got a lot of complaints, such as that communication is disorganized. It seems like there's so many different tactics, and they don't really know which ways really works effectively. Seems like tabling and just like basic communication, like social media, seems like those were kind of working a bit, but they were split among the people who responded. And we asked if there was any structural issues, like if the university itself, with any of its rules or policies, actually affected their side on like what they could do and how they could affect participation numbers. Overwhelmingly, it was mostly in favor of, yes, there are structural issues. One of them was time conflicts in limited space. And they talked about how there's a lot of times they couldn't find time that was needed for them because a lot of people are hosting different events. There's not enough room for them. A number of people talked about the complexity of the application process and how much paperwork and how much time it takes, and that's kind of a deterrence for them to host events. And a lot of paperwork if you bring in like food or any of those. So there was a number of issues that people had on the bureaucracy side of it. And so that's what we learned from the RSO side, the executive board side.
All right. Now, we had a couple of solutions. The first solution would be to improve the booking procedures that RSOs have to go through when they are trying to reserve a room or space. And this is actually something that we discovered that they're actually working on right now. They're trying to make the procedure a lot simpler and try to make it so that they can get these rooms at a lot quicker rate. Now, we were also thinking about some new or non-fund based incentives, because when we were talking with these RSOs, we found out that many of them use things like food to get students to come to their meetings and such. So we were thinking we could try some incentives that weren't based on that RSOs did not need money to get, because we were finding that they also had a budget restraint and they were not allowed to, they weren't able to get the food, the right amount of food that they needed for these events. And one of the ideas we had was to try to make the RSOs more like a credit-based thing, give students like a certain amount of credit hours for attending the RSO meetings, just to give them more of an incentive. Because when we were looking at what the students were saying, they were saying that they had other obligations that they had to, such as class or meetings, and they were giving an incentive such as getting credit hours for it, or a GPA booster. Then maybe they would be more intrigued by the offer of the RSOs. And we were also thinking of maybe giving the RSOs, making sure the RSOs had more time in getting this information out to the students at a more efficient rate. Because as we found out, several of the students did not attend the meetings because they didn't know about the meetings in time, and they didn't have enough time to take off work or make room in their schedule to attend those meetings. And those were our solutions. Do we have any questions?
Any questions or comments on the floor? Senator Beeson.
Hello, Senator Busen, Senator for Housing. So I know I'm actually a part of an RSO that you get credit hours for participating in it, and that's the Student Managed Investment Fund. And so there are a few things I don't know if you're aware of, maybe you are, but students still have to pay for those credit hours if they're in an RSO that has credit hours. They still have to pay for them. They still have to pay tuition. And so essentially, if it's students would have to pay to be in certain clubs if it was required to have to get credit hours from them. I don't know if you're aware of that. Also, for the credit hours, a lot of them, for it to be a credit hour, it has to be a 4,000 level course. So it would have to be classified as a directed study, and that's something that clubs would have to work with individual departments, not general education courses. So like for a political science one, you'd have to work with the political science department for like Model UN or mock debate. For like a business club, you have to work with the business school specifically on the 4,000 course level as directed studies. So I don't know if you guys were aware of that. I just wanted to tell that to you when you're pursuing this, because I've been kind of researching into it on a little project of mine, so I know a little bit about it. So if you have any other questions, just come talk to me about it, because I can help you out.
All right, thank you for that. That was actually very good information. I'm glad you shared that with us. Do we have any other questions?
Director Weiss.
Director of External Affairs. So going off of what Nick said, like most everyone here, I'm also a part of a few organizations on campus. And in addition to the credit hour possible incentive type thing and the issues with that, I know a lot of organizations like the ones I'm a part of myself have tried using it as extra credit to attend events, be involved with things, especially if it's like a panel hosted by faculty, a part of that department. They offer it to their classes. If they go to it and write a little thing on it, they'll get extra credit. I know Baxter and I have classes where they offer that regularly, and it still leads to very, very, very minimal attendance, I guess. With the majority of people being at KSU being commuter students, something around, I believe, 80%, according to Sentinel a couple of years ago, it's very difficult. And as to the issue with communication that other intern groups presented, ultimately this comes down to students wanting to get involved. A lot of you are here because you want to be here. I know there are issues with communication, but ultimately there are opportunities available. I agree that there are incentive issues, but that is something that has to be viewed as something on the back burner that isn't the primary issue here. The bureaucracy is an issue, and that's something that we're working on, but there's very little room with that too. But I just wanted to know if you have any other ideas for incentives that you may be able to go about using instead, because like we said, the credit hour thing is very difficult to achieve, and even non-monetary things such as extra credit for classes is difficult too. And also, I'll talk to Carly after the meeting. She wants to meet with you.
Okay. For the extra incentives, we were still thinking about it. We didn't really have any major ideas on it other than the credit hours or putting it towards school things. So, but we'll try to work on that, and we'll definitely meet with you after.
So you raised very good points, and we would like a big thing that we came upon in our research, and it's been this point has been raised to us like by the professors that have worked with us in the internship program. There's a big conflict when getting students involved in extracurricular activities like events and clubs. There's a conflict between extrinsic and intrinsic motivations. A lot of clubs and events will use like extra credit and food to bring people in, but that's not really gonna bring a significant amount of people, and even if it does, it's not going to keep them coming back. And so finding a way to convey hey, this is what you're going to get out of coming to this club, say being able to put down mock trial or Model UN on your resume, being able to effectively convey that to students is probably the best course of action in the long run. Thank you. Any extra questions?
Well, we have time for one more question or comment. Senator Smith. There a microphone on that side of the room?
Yeah, just pass it.
Well, I actually got your email from Jordan Clark, and I did fill out your survey. And you may run into issues with people like me who are on 3 exec boards, and you're going to get like 1 response from like 4 different clubs, so sorry about that. And Jordan's a wonderful person who does her best, but I wanted to bring attention to a problem/potential solution you could work on, which is I would say that over the past 3 years, the Student Center has slowly become more and more academic offices. Owl Life is great, but it's not exactly user-friendly, especially if you're on your phone. So working on getting student offices, big student clubs back in the Student Center would be a great opportunity for you guys, especially considering they're going to be remodeling in the next year. So just throwing that out there.
Okay. My suggestion for your group is make sure to be realistic about how much of this is on students not being active. But other than that, thank you for your presentation. We really enjoyed it. All right, our final group is on an issue I'm sure very few of you are interested in, which is on-campus housing and Wi-Fi.
Thanks.
Oh, gotcha.
Whenever y'all are ready.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carver, and this is of course, my SGA internship group, and this is?
I'm Giovanni.
I'm Tian Woods. Jennifer. We worked on the housing issue. So how many of you live on campus or have ever lived on campus? How many experience Wi-Fi problems? Literally almost all of you. You are not alone. We sent out a survey of about 150 to the 50 different housing communities, and we got a response rate of about 50% of them coming back. And with that, unanimously, all the students agreed that they have problems with Wi-Fi. So we started looking into why that is and what the need is. So our problem was the internet speed of on-campus housing Wi-Fi is unreliable.
Next slide, please.
We looked at it from a twofold perspective, from a need from basically the students from also not only from an education perspective, but also a safety. So if we can get that pulled up, it'd be great.
Guess we're seeing why this is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having Wi-Fi issues right now.
Just keep going. Okay, so one of the great things about this day and age is the presence of mobile devices. I'd venture to say pretty much everyone in this room, if not the vast majority, has some sort of mobile device, right, a cell phone. And one thing that comes with having a mobile device is increased safety, especially on this campus. That's something we take pride in. On the Kennesaw and Marietta campus is really high campus safety. And one of the big things that we have that helps that is the Live Safe app. I'm sure a lot of you are you have it or you've used it before. I've used it before. This app is actually really useful. It does the job, right? But the bad thing about it is it's totally ineffective if you can't use it for anything. And to use it, you have to have some sort of access to wireless internet. And so with this Live Safe app, with on-campus safety, you really do need that that wireless access to internet.
So I personally experienced a problem with this. ARC has an interesting way of having two different Wi-Fis. There's the 2.4 that runs on one, yay, 2.4 and the 5. And I was standing at the bus stop waiting for Bob, and I had no idea that we were under a tornado warning because my cell phone does not have good service in Austin residence. And furthermore, I rely on the KSU alerts that are sent to my email because that pops up with a Wi-Fi. And I did not have Wi-Fi, and I had no idea where everyone had gone and why I was the only one waiting at the bus stop. And thank goodness the tornado was actually somewhere not on campus. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd be standing right here with you guys. So we've raised this as a concern to the housing as well as education. Next slide.
Okay, so part of our thing was, we wanted to come at the stance of education, and in regards of, obviously we need Wi-Fi to email our professor. We all use D2L for the Kennesaw State University to kind of get information from our professors, to get notifications, grades, see our attendance, and if with inconsistent Wi-Fi, it's actually very hard. I'm sure you guys know, to be able to do so. For example, I woke up, went to class, actually woke up on time, was there. It was a very gloomy day, and I realized that, I checked my email before I go to see if class canceled, and nothing popped up. And when I got there, class was canceled, and then it finally came in. So I walked all the way from UVS to Social Science Building, and just to know that my class was canceled when I could have seen that at UVS, but however, our Wi-Fi in my room is very inconsistent. And also, we want you guys to know that, this is very necessary for students, because without this, then it kind of makes it hard to get education when this is why we're here. So, yes.
And I also have a personal experience with frustrating educational things in regards to the Wi-Fi. So how many of you have used the Respondent's Lockdown browser in one of your classes? Okay, good, most of you. In the middle of me taking a test on the Lockdown browser, my Wi-Fi cut out. And then it flagged it as suspicious activity, and then I had to keep taking it. And on Lockdown browser, once you start it, that timer goes on whether you're on the test or not. So basically, and it kept cutting in and out and in and out and in and out, and I would be able to answer a couple of questions. But towards the end, I didn't have enough time, and I had to rush my questions. And then I made a high B, but I could have made an A. And I actually looked at the questions at the end, and I realized, that the questions that I got wrong were because I rushed it, and I didn't realize, it said, how many of these things are not this instead of this? So I just clicked the first answer. So I've had my own frustrating experience with the Wi-Fi hurting me in my education. Now, the causes are, currently we're in administrative transition from one president to the other. In addition, certain jurisdictions with housing, there's a reason why the housing Wi-Fi generally is worse than the on-campus Wi-Fi at the library or at the social sciences building. That's because those are run by two separate departments, and so they are treated differently. And we've been having and we contacted the housing, one of the housing representatives, or sorry, not housing representatives, but one of the housing administrators, and she told us essentially that it's been difficult, and they are aware of the problem, and they're working to fix it. But one of the reasons why it's so inconsistent and it drops out so much is because of technical noise. And basically what that means is certain Wi-Fi signals will overlap with each other. And so that includes things like your personal hotspots, your Wi-Fi printers, and any other modems, which is the reason why in your contract it says you cannot have a modem on the Kennesaw campus. So and we'll get to that more in our solutions, but one good way for us to alleviate this temporarily is to spread awareness that you shouldn't use that because it makes the Wi-Fi overall more inconsistent.
So if you did live on housing, you got an email update that said they are working on a project. And this is true. We met with Housing Director Jenny Brown and the rest of the leadership team, and they are aware of the problem. They're also aware that Marietta does not have any Wi-Fi whatsoever. So that will be changing. What they're doing is in the spring, they're looking for a vendor who's going to update all the Wi-Fi within Kennesaw and install Wi-Fi into the Marietta campus. And so they're actually working on this, which is great news for us. What they want to do is have it done over the summer, as they're going to install all the infrastructure. So the infrastructure is going to have to be put into Marietta. So I've looked at the housing. They're a 10-month contract, so it shouldn't disturb anyone living on campus. However, Marietta students, they're aware that you like your wired connection. But with this new project, there's going to be no wired connection. Everything's going to be wireless. So, but in the time being, we would like to inform students of, you do have the wired connection for now. So if you are working on homework, you can get yourself an Ethernet if you have that port. Other computer labs exist and getting to the library. So it's going to be of being patient. And we want to work towards also informing students to turn off their wireless printers if they're not using them, to turn off hotspots if you're not using them, because you're disrupting the Wi-Fi that currently is being provided. So if we could decrease that noise, at least for the time being, it would be helpful for students for now. And then in regards to why they're not going to do wired connection is because whenever they're updating the housing units and they paint, most of the painters forget to cover up the Ethernet ports, so then they get damaged. And instead of constantly having to update these Ethernet ports, they want to have just the wireless internet. And the new vendor that they're going to have is going to have a 24/7 support system. So whenever students have a problem, they'll be able to call this technological place, and they'll be able to respond and try and help them with the Wi-Fi problems. That's it.
Thank you guys so much.
I see we've already got some questions and comments. So Senate Lead Buppet.
Senate Lead. Speaking from Marietta campus, there are so many gamers there, and the Wi-Fi is not good for gaming. We need like a wired connection for that, like, the ping fluctuation and stuff. So whenever you talk to the person who is in charge of this, can you bring this up? Like, with the wired connections, you get like consistent ping, and like that's important for gamers. It's like 50% of the population on Marietta campus.
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. Miss Jeannie Brown, she's very nice, and she'll listen to just about anyone. We had a great meeting, and I'm sure next time we meet up with her, or maybe one of the senators here meets up with her, bringing that up might actually be legitimately helpful, especially for Marietta students, because I do know this is a gamer-heavy campus.
Right. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Senator Coakley. Go ahead.
We're going to have to get students to go and talk to them, because their point of view was most universities across Georgia do not provide the wired connection. So if it's something the Marietta students feel very passionate about, we need to petition to them to let them know they really want to keep this, or at least have a place where they could use that.
So is there going to be like an increase in the internet speed, or is the internet going to be the same speed?
They're wanting faster. They want to get a vendor who's going to provide it faster, more reliable, and that will be coming in spring. So depending on the vendors that they have, that will give that. So that's more like future information.
All right. Keep us posted.
Senator Coakley, yeah, I'd really like to work with you guys on this project in terms of getting actual wireless Wi-Fi on Marietta. So I'm sure you guys have been working with Nicholas Bussin. I'd really like to join this. Please talk to me after the meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Director Mogus.
So like for Marietta campus, well, I know y'all don't have Wi-Fi, but like on the Kennesaw, the main campus, they have two different sets of Wi-Fi. So they have like the KSU gaming and then KSU housing. So what's also slowing down the Wi-Fi is everyone's connected to KSU housing 2.4 and 2.5 with their gaming device. So like when you are like doing your surveys and stuff, just inform people that there are two sets of Wi-Fis, one for gaming and one for just like regular use.
That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Senator Ray?
Okay, so actually, my freshman year, I wrote a huge research paper when I lived on Marietta campus about the Wi-Fi solution on Marietta campus. And at that time, they were still working on a Wi-Fi solution at the Marietta campus. I am now a junior, so we've seen how that project has been going. So I would encourage them to keep on, or I would encourage you to hold them accountable and maybe like try to set like a certain date with them, and if it's not there, try to go to their superiors, keep on with it and hold them to that. With that being said, we've dealt with a situation earlier in UV this year where their wireless Wi-Fi was out completely, so they all relied on the wired connection. So I think using examples like that would probably help your case in that situation. I've been dealing with some statements for painting, so I know how much they're paying some of these painters. I promise you they're paying them enough to cover up the Ethernet ports when they're painting, since they are professionals. So that is not something that should be the reason for that, because when Wi-Fi is, you could have the best Wi-Fi in the entire world, and then when you put this or that many people on it, there's going to be problems and it's going to fail. The wired connection is the only reliable thing, and with college, you're going to need reliable internet at all times, and you're paying for that in your fees. So I think that is something you'll really need to touch on, like Senate Lead said. So I would encourage y'all to really just stay, like, really hammer down and make sure they actually do this, because like I said, 3 years ago, they were doing this.
Thank you for that question, and we appreciate the we appreciate the feedback there. We actually were not aware that they were doing this 3 years ago. So, oh, okay. But yeah, thank you.
We will take a final question from Senator Veeder.
I just want to say something. For one thing, my computer does not do wireless. It only does wired. I do things on a daily basis that cannot be done wireless. They can only be done through wired. And where is this information that I know UGA and Georgia Tech are very proud of their wired connections. UGA provides 200 megabytes, which I don't know if anyone knows, but it's very, very high-speed internet. Their wired connection's much better than their wireless, and so does Georgia Tech. They're very proud of their wired connections. So I don't know where they're comparing that campuses around Georgia are not using wired, because I know I've spoken to the UITS or the EITS at UGA and everything, and they are very proud of their connections there, and they say that through USG as well. So I just was wondering where their information like that came from.
I don't know. We got that from the housing leadership team.
Okay.
But these concerns, like, get to us, and we can get with them and let them know that, like, this isn't going to work.
Okay.
And I was aware that there was a housing project that they were trying to do, but your problem with that is the housing administration has changed. So they're really trying to do that, and their set date is August 1st. They want it done. So.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll see.
Thank you all. I would give you a suggestion, but Senator Ray more or less covered it. Keep pushing on, follow up on this. It's great that they're pushing forward on progress, but we have been promised progress before. So, well, I think the new administration will be better than previously. Stay consistent and keep working on this if you want it to go through. Thanks again to all our interns. Please stick around until the end of the meeting. We are now going to quickly go through our officer reports, starting with Director Mogus.
Hey guys, Just a couple of things. So constitutional revisions have started, and they will be voted on next meeting, so November 28th. So be excited for that, yay. So I'll be sending out certain emails to certain people tomorrow morning. It should be in your inbox before like 12. So one thing I would like to address is like cell phone use while people are speaking. It is very disrespectful, like on all levels. So let's just cut it out. Like, we're all grown. We all know it's disrespectful, so let's not do it. So yeah, on a happier note, you all just got like Secret Santa little papers. So fill them out. I'm gonna give y'all to like 8:40 to finish filling them out, and I'm gonna come back around and pick them up. So yeah, if you can fill that out like ASAP, and I'm gonna come around and pick them up, and I'll walk back around. You can all just pick out names or like pieces of papers. So the rules for this is the minimum is $5 and the maximum is $20. And so like we want this for the next meeting. That way you guys have the week of Thanksgiving to like do your shopping, plan it out. If you have any questions about it, just talk to me after the meeting. End of report.
Director Weiss?
Director of External Affairs. So, like you said, I'm going to keep it short. But so I went to a Cobb County PD Precinct 1 Community Task Force meeting again. If you're interested in knowing what was discussed and what we're doing going forward, please let me know after the meeting or DM me. I also met with Chief Stevens on Tuesday. Again, if you were interested in hearing what we were talking about, talk to me after the meeting. I scheduled a meeting with Dr. Severo for this Friday. If you want me to bring up anything, tell me now or after the meeting, and I'll bring it up to him. I also scheduled a meeting on the 27th with Carly, Alex McGee, and Julia Ayers, who is the new Associate Vice President for Government Relations. If you want me to bring up anything, please tell me after the meeting. I began planning our police forum next semester with Cobb County PD and KSC Police. Reached out to a couple people from the surrounding area, like the Bells Ferry Civic Association and Precinct 1 itself. If you want to be involved with that, please let me know after the meeting. Coffee with Cops final planning, I continued that. That is tomorrow, pending me getting the money from Jada, who is not here right now. Again, it is tomorrow from 10 to 11:30 a.m. on Zone 5 of the Green, which is the front left, facing or leaving the Student Center entrance. I would really like a lot of people to be there, a lot of people to help out. I have to move a tent. That's going to be a lot of work. So if someone can help me with that, that'd be great. I know a couple of you have already offered to help, so I appreciate it. On tomorrow, I'm going to the Presidential Commission on Racial and Diversity meeting with Vanessa. Dr. Severo will be there also. So again, if you have any issues you want me to bring up, tell me after the meeting. And Vincent, I need to talk to you after the meeting. You already know that. And then if Jada shows up, I need to talk to her too, but that doesn't matter. So, end of report.
Hi, Director of Internal Affairs. So if you could please turn to my lovely PowerPoint that my interns expressed the same love for the color palette. So this is, my report is going to be keeping up with the Internal Affairs Committee. If you are in my committee, please rise. Look at that. Okay, everyone, look around you. So this committee, okay. Next slide, please. Yes, please sit. You may be seated. Okay, so I would like to highlight what my committee has been up to in the last month. If we all remember, I was sworn in the first week of October, and since then, it's been a little bit over a month, this committee has hit the ground running, and I'm so incredibly thankful for them. So first things first, I asked my committee members to establish positions that they are interested in. And as you can see, I will send this PowerPoint out to you guys for the sake of time, but we have a lot of good things going. I've got 2 branches started now. I've got 2 assistant directors that are interested in this position after I graduate, and I am interested in adding more people to my committee, so see me afterwards. Next slide, please. So basically, a peek into the future. We're going to hit the ground running come January. So something I've discussed with my committee, apart from our awesome Spirit event today, I would like everyone to focus on finals, and after finals, we're going to have a committee get-together, probably at my place with some pizza, no dogs, and we are going to bond and talk about our strategy for the spring. And when I say the spring, I mean January 1st, we're hit the ground running. So if you're interested in this, please come and see me. We're going to have awesome events that our hope is to spread positivity, and how we want to do that is engaging the students. And my committee is absolutely brilliant. If you read here, you can get a little taste of that. So again, if you're interested in anything that I have talked about or you want to come talk to me, please do. On top of this, there have been several other things I'm involved in, as far as also the provost candidate interviews too. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please come see me afterwards. But especially you guys, don't forget. End of report.
Our wonderful Director of Academic Affairs, Aaron Delaney.
He did forgive me, but that's okay. So just to kind of keep it brief, I'm going to talk about Fuel for Finals one more time. This is your last in-person reminder about this event. It is mandatory, so you need to be there. It's November 28th from 1:30 to 2:30 in University Room B on the Kennesaw campus. All right, so 1:30 to 2:30, University Room B on the Kennesaw campus, November 28th. So yeah, it's gonna be some fun stuff. There's gonna be donuts and coffee. We're gonna have koozies for your waters and your diet drinks and other drinks. And we'll also have a cool scrappy bobblehead that is a one-of-a-kind limited edition from a generous sponsor called my brother. But it's very well conditioned, 10 out of 10 rating. Only one. We'll have holiday bingo. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you cannot make it for school or work, you must email me at least 24 hours in advance, and you should CC your Senate lead, and I will respond to you. Macy and Emma, I do have yours. I didn't respond to you, but I have yours. So yeah, you have to respond. I will give you a response back. If you don't hear from me, just send me a little message. It needs to be email, please. And yeah, interns, you're more than welcome to come as well. It'll be fun. So yeah, end of report.
Really quick side note, make sure you fold the papers in half.
Senate Lead Dykes.
Senate Lead Dykes. Hey everyone. My only announcement tonight is for one-on-ones for this month. Soham and I have been working on a little project. So basically what we're going to be doing is there's going to be a mailbox of sorts in the Kennesaw office and the Marietta office with feedback forms for y'all to fill out. It's basically just what you want to see SGA improve on for the coming semesters. You are just going to drop that in that box. We'll collect it probably after 2 weeks from now, before finals. There we go. And that'll count as your one-on-one for this month. So keep an eye out for those. End of report.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, but make sure you fill them out, because this is replacing your one-on-ones. So we are going to ask you if you have done it or not. So fill them out.
Treasurer Har.
Treasurer Hart. Hey guys, so today was actually the last say-back meeting of the semester, thank God. But we actually have another fee committee meeting. It's slightly different, and it's kind of all encapsulating of all of the fees that we've gone through. I think I was talking to Dr. Sansevero today. That's going to be November 28th, and I think we still need one volunteer, so if you are interested in that process, it's going to be about 2 hours, and we recommend 4 multi-hire. I would just talk to Matthew because he actually is going to appoint that person. Speaking of Dr. Sansevero, we talked briefly about stipend reinstatements for the Senate. We talked about how that would be a long road with multiple roadblocks. The first one including the SABAC protocol manual, which says that the cap for RSOs and stipends is $10,000. a year. We currently are at that. So without changing the rules, we essentially can't change the stipend situation. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible, just difficult. So if you're interested in working with me on that, I just need to know when to start. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Secretary Gunby, good to see you guys again. I just wanted to let you guys know something that's happening in the reservation office recently is that Rachel Patty recently, one of the reservation delegates, it's Janice Malone and Rachel Patty. Rachel Patty has left Kennesaw State, and they are now trying to find another person to hire to take her spot, from what I have heard from Jordan Clark. So that means that reservations haven't been getting approved as often. So I promise, like, if I have approved your form in Owl Life, I've put it into the reservation system. So just wait for that confirmation email from Janice as she continues to do a lot by herself, because it is a lot to go through the reservation system and do that all by herself. So I just wanted to let you guys know on that end. Please remember to give me at least a week and a half before the date of your event that you want to happen for me to get it into the reservation system, because it will literally not let me put in event requests 5 days, less than five or less days into the system. It literally will not let me. So give me a week and a half, because I have schoolwork, we all have finals. Give me that time and that respect of my time so I can respect yours. Thank you.
Vice President Abdul Salam.
Hey everyone, I want to thank every intern who participated in the program. I'm really proud of you guys. You did a wonderful job, and I commend your hard work and your determination throughout the whole semester. And I want to thank the Department of Leadership for working with us. You have been wonderful. And I know there is Karen over there, Thomas. Thank you so much, guys. I know Emily couldn't make it today here, but could you please convey our gratitude to her too? And we look forward to working with you again in the future. And yes, I'm so sorry. I'm not really sure about your name, but thank you so much too. But I'll be meeting with Emily to see if we can have some other program for the next semester or something, or if we can have some kind of change or some other kind of involvement that SGA can do with Department of Student Leadership in the future. And please look out for that. Thank you. And I have a meeting with Dr. White, who is the Vice President of the Student Affairs, and that's tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. If you guys have any questions or concerns that you want me to raise with her, just DM me. Dr. White is here? No, she's not. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. She was supposed to be here, but since she's not here, if you guys have had any questions for her, just message me, and I'll take it up to her tomorrow. And I'm going to the SAC conference in Augusta University on Friday and Saturday, and we'll be meeting with the presidents and most probably vice presidents of different universities in Georgia. I'll be talking to them about the things that are going on in their universities, how they are making progress within their SGA, and I'll give you an update as soon as I'm back. And I'm also trying to fix a meeting with Dr. Sensevero to get an update of things going on and stuff. So I'll be meeting him most probably on the last week of November or the first week of December. If you have any questions that you couldn't give Director Weiss, please let me know, and I'll raise it with him after that. And that's it. End of report. Thank you.
Thank you, Masood. I do want to thank both of you wonderful people for helping with the intern program, as well as Emily, who couldn't be here tonight. I know you both were a personally life-changing part of my experience and part of why I'm president. So on behalf of the entire SGA for giving us these wonderful interns, thank you. So the single most important thing I've done in the past since the last meeting is, as you all know, I was part of the Provost Search Committee, and though I wasn't able to be part of the airport interviews, I was able to lead a small group of SGA senators and directors to speak with the provost candidates. One We can send out our notes to all of y'all if you would be interested. I know I am asking the people who met with them personally, as well as the people who went to the forums, if y'all could email me your thoughts on the candidates. Don't rank them. That's not the job of the committee or of us, but just your thoughts, strengths, and weaknesses for candidates, and I can send that to Dr. Preston. Basically, what I came away from this thinking is we're going to have a great provost no matter what. We've got some candidates that some people preferred more than others, but the 4 that have made it, I think we all agree, are very competent and very qualified, so that's good. I also attended the Food Advisory Committee with Senator Lopez. We discussed a couple of things, maybe trying to potentially get swipes to carry over from fall to spring, just like dining dollars. That doesn't seem super likely, but we put it out there, put it in their heads, and at the next meeting, I'll talk to Shane Collins and see where we're at on that. I also brought up from advice from some of y'all, as well as many students, the potential of maybe replacing Burrito Bowl with something people actually go to, like Moe's. So they also made the point that right now the Student Center is very rice heavy with the Sushi Place, the Burrito Bowl, and Panda Express. So they are aware that Burrito Bowl isn't popular, and their ideal is for everything to be like Chick-fil-A and Panda Express, which will make the lines better off and give students better options to use their dining dollars. I spoke with Senator Ellington, and after speaking to Jordan Clark, I have the election results from 2015 to 2018. I am going to authorize Director Sukumar, effective as soon as he is well enough to do so, to put them on the website, release them publicly. We can email them out if you'd like. Long story short, you'll have the chance to look at them. You'll find some fairly abysmal results in turnout. College seats that were won with less than 30 votes, people almost losing to NA, and it becomes very clear to us that we need to really improve our voting turnout and also make this knowledge known, because this proves more than ever that every vote counts, because there were some cases where people might not have thrown their hat into the ring because they thought they couldn't win, and then now they'll find out they only needed about 30 votes to do so. So I'm going to work with Senator Ellington as a vice chair. We're going to create a committee with the goal of basically creating a report on some of the issues we think we've faced with voter engagement, voter turnout, whether it's systemic across the university, whether there's some colleges, and possibly look into proposing some constitutional reforms that we think might help, or suggestions to the elections committee, which is going to be different, to actually oversee the running of the actual elections next semester. Our committee is going to be a little different from Carly's in that it's going to have a definitive start and end date, so we don't interfere with the actual election process itself. It's going to be a recommendation body that will report to you all. Malon and I would like any and all senators and interns who are interested to join us, but we would especially like people who have campaigned and successfully won elections, because y'all are the ones who have the knowledge of your college or whatever constituency that we can really draw upon to improve this issue. Outside of that, I'm going to be unavailable from Thursday to Saturday. I'll be at a Model United Nations competition, standing up for human rights and religious liberties. Just kidding, I'm playing China, so. But I'll be unavailable. Usually unavailable means I'm not on campus, but this does mean if you call or text me or whatever, I won't be able to reach out to you. So even though Masood's going to be out of town as well, he has been kind enough to offer to take over any questions and comments for y'all from Thursday to Saturday. Over the break, I won't be as responsive, but if there is an emergency, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do what I can to help you. End of report. My apologies. We will now go into open forum. This is the time for any members of SGA or the audience to bring up anything in relation to SGA. Senator Coakley.
Hey y'all, Senator Coakley again. Just a quick note on my past 2 weeks. I've had a meeting with the Dean of Libraries, and we talked about the future of the Marietta Campus Library again, and some of the future expansion that might happen there. If you want to know more about that, please feel free to talk to me after the meeting. I also talked with a guy named Cameron Coates. He's the dean of engineering buildings. I talked to him about extending the hours of the Q building past 12 o'clock to be 24/7 possibly. He was like, we don't have the staff, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. End of thing.
Before we keep going, just for the sake of procedure, I'm going to request that there is a motion on the floor for a 20-minute extension. That by all means does not mean that this meeting has to go till 9:20. I just don't want to have to keep making 5-minute motions because we're about to go over. So are there any motions on the floor? Senator Ellington?
I motion to approve this motion to go on an extra 20 minutes.
There is a motion on the floor to extend the meeting by 20 minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Broom. All in favor? Please, guys, come on. All opposed? Any abstentions? This does pass. This is not a requirement we go till 9:20, but just to give us a little bit more wiggle room. Is there anything else for open forum? I already gave you. Oh, I picked, sure. Senator Watkins.
I just wanted to say thank you to anybody who donated to any place or any organization for Hoot Out Hunger. It was a success. Just to brag on athletics, we raised 807 items, and track raised over 400 of those items. And then also, tonight was the paint up event for the girls basketball game. Super fun. Y'all missed some great hot chocolate. We look forward to doing it again. At the event we talked about branching out to doing different sporting events and switching up the beverages based on the season. So, yeah.
Is there anything else for open forum? Okay, and real quick, thank you to Senator Watkins for stepping in with Director Sukumar being unavailable. We all really appreciate it. Senator Coakley.
Senator Coakley, just a really short thing. I want to speak to Sam and Carly afterwards.
All right, y'all are in trouble. Anything else for open forum? Okay, seeing none, we will now go into the new business. This is now when we will discuss any proposals or resolutions on the floor. Is there anything for new business? Beautiful. Announcements. This is the time for people to discuss anything not directly related to SGA, but just that you want people to know about. Senator Ray.
All right, so as discussed in the last meeting when Matthew said he asked President Witten about my question about Bob buses, I don't know if it was directly because of my question, but Bob buses are being provided to SunTrust Stadium all day throughout that day. So also, if you're in the RSO, talk to y'all's president, tell them to check their email. They're giving out a bunch of tickets. I know personally they sent out an email saying you have 25 free tickets to give out. So in like 3 minutes, I gave out 25 free tickets that are all going to be collected. So we'll see how that goes. I hope to see you all there because it's going to be a great time.
I guess on announcements, I haven't actually looked at my email, but since I'm going to be out of town, if one of y'all could volunteer to let me forward it to you, and then y'all can distribute SGA's tickets. I don't care who, but I just want to make sure we're doing it. All right, I got you. Anything else for announcements? Senator Bradford?
Hello. I just wanted to inform you guys that myself and Senator Watkins and a small group of student athletes helped interview and find a new track and field head coach. He starts his job on Monday, but he arrived yesterday. Also, Travis Glasgow, I don't know his job title, but he did say there are 2,100. It's a large amount of free tickets for students, free tickets for the SunTrust game. So just make sure you go to the box office to receive those because they are a limited amount. That's all.
Anything else for announcements? Okay. Just remember to interns, stick around. Senators, if you want to talk to someone, do that as well. And for the China people who are here, which I think is, 4 of you, love to get a picture. 5. Oh, yeah, Helen's in there. That's great. Is there anything else for announcements before we adjourn? Director Keller?
My committee, come see me, and potential members, come see me. Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else, I ask that each and every one of you are safe when you travel over the break. Like always, like seeing y'all's faces, and I want to do it again next meeting. Is there a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting? Senator Broom? All in favor? Or, excuse me, is there a second on the floor? Senator Rahman? I apologize. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? This does pass.